Ernest Borgnine tells us about the actors he couldn't stand. Ernest Borgnine was actually born with the name thumErnest Borgnine on January 24, 1917, in a place called Hammond, Connecticut. He became one of Hollywood's longest-lasting, most talented, and well-loved actors. His parents came from Italy, and Borgnine grew up in a working-class family where being disciplined, working hard, and never giving up were really important values. His parents split up when he was young, and his mum took him to Italy for a while before they came back to America. This trip back and forth between countries gave young Borgnine a rich cultural background and helped him really understand what it was like to struggle and keep going, which you could see in all his movie performances later on. Before he got into acting, Borgnine lived a life that was just as interesting as the characters he played on screen. When he was 18, he joined the United States Navy and served really well for more than 10 years. Including all through World War II. His time wearing that uniform turned him into someone who was disciplined, loyal, and great at working with others. Borgnine always talked proudly about his Navy days, saying it gave him direction and a reason for living. Even after he became a big Hollywood star, he stayed close to the military, showing up at Navy events and veteran get-togethers, and supporting causes that helped soldiers and their families. After he got out of the Navy, Borgnine was looking around for what to do with his life. He had never done anything with acting before, but his mom suggested he try it because she thought he had a natural gift for expressing himself. So he signed up for acting classes. What started as just trying something out quickly became something he was passionate about. He got better at acting by doing theater work, especially at a place called the Barter Theater in Virginia. Before he went to Broadway and then Hollywood, his tough, big build and that famous gap-toothed smile made him someone you'd recognize right away. And early in his career he usually got cast as the bad guy or rough character. But Borgnine showed everyone he could do way more than just those tough guy roles. His big break came in 1955 when he starred in a movie called Marty, which was a sweet, low-budget movie about a lonely guy from the Bronx who cuts meat for a living and is looking for love and trying to figure out his worth. Borgnine's heartfelt, not glamorous, and deeply human performance really connected with audiences and critics, and he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. That moment made his place in movie history permanent, changing him from just a reliable supporting actor into a leading man whose depth and relatability could move millions of people. Throughout his long career, Borgnine showed he was amazingly good at adapting to different types of movies and TV shows. He was in tough war movies like From Here to Eternity in 1953, westerns like The Wild Bunch in 1969, and action-packed adventure movies like The Dirty Dozen in 1967. On TV, he became someone everyone knew in the 1960s with a comedy show called McHale's Navy, where he played the lovable and mischievous Lieutenant Commander Quinton McHale, which made a whole new generation of fans fall in love with him. Later in his life, his distinctive booming voice introduced him to younger audiences when he did the voice of the character Mermaid Man on the cartoon show SpongeBob SquarePants. Even with all his success, Borgnine stayed down-to-earth, friendly, and generous. People knew him as someone with a big hearty laugh and a twinkle in his eye, and he never let being famous make him distant from regular people. He often took time to chat with fans, sign autographs, and share stories from his long and varied career. The people he worked with always praised him as not only a total professional, but also as someone who was warm and encouraging to have on set. Ernest Borgnine's personal life was just as colorful and eventful as his legendary career, and one of the things people talked about most was his series of marriages. During his lifetime, Borgnine got married 5 times, with each marriage reflecting different parts of his personal and professional journey. His first marriage started in 1949. Shortly after he came back from serving in the U.S. Navy, where he had spent 10 years of his early adult life in the military during both peacetime and World War II. While he was in the Navy, he met Roa Kemmons, a woman who was charmed by his warm personality, and who supported his early transition from being a disciplined sailor to a man trying to build a civilian career. Their marriage lasted for almost 10 years, from 1949 until 1958, and during that time they had a daughter, Nancy, who was born on May 28, 1952. Becoming a dad was a really important moment for Borgnine, who often said that family was one of the most grounding things in his life, even when his personal relationships were sometimes rocky. But as Borgnine's acting career started taking off in the 1950s, The pressures of Hollywood fame and having to be away from home all the time took a toll on the marriage. In the end, their marriage ended in divorce, though Borgnine stayed dedicated to being a father to Nancy. His second marriage brought him into the world of international movies and glamour. In 1959, he married the famous Mexican actress Katie, who had already built a reputation as a strong, fiery performer in both Hollywood and Mexican movies. Their relationship was intense and passionate, and the two of them made a striking couple that people admired for both their talents and their charisma. But the very intensity that first attracted them also created problems. Both of them were strong-willed people with demanding careers, and Borgnine later admitted that they often fought over personal and professional differences. Their marriage ended up falling apart in 1963, lasting for stormy years. Even after they separated, Borgnine later spoke of Urado with respect, admitting she was a remarkable actress and a woman who had made a lasting impression on him. Borgnine's third marriage, however, became one of the most infamous chapters in his personal history. In 1964, he married legendary actress and singer Ethel Merman, whose larger-than-life personality was matched only by Borgnine's own loud nature. The marriage was explosive from the very beginning. Since both people were stubborn, outspoken, and had fiery tempers, their marriage famously lasted only 42 days, making it one of the shortest celebrity marriages in Hollywood history. The breakup was so bitter and messy that when Merman later wrote her autobiography, she famously left an entire page blank under the chapter talking about her marriage to Borgnine, which was an unspoken but cutting way to comment on the experience. Borgnine's longtime friend and comedy partner, Tim Conway, later gave a funny but meaningful explanation for the disaster. "Ernie is explosive. I mean, there's no question about that. And Ethel was a very strong lady. So, you put two bombs in a room, something is going to explode. And I guess it probably did." The comment perfectly captured the volatile chemistry between two show business giants whose tempers simply could not exist under one roof. After the public spectacle of his brief marriage to Merman, Borgnine got into his fourth marriage in 1965, this time to Donna Runt. Their relationship lasted longer, going until 1972, and it produced 3 children, making Borgnine's role as a father even deeper. Their first child, a daughter named Sharon, was born on August 5, 1965. 4 years later, they had a son, Christopher, born on August 9, 1969. Their family grew again with the birth of another daughter, Diana. On December 29, 1970, Borgnine took pride in being a father to a growing family, often speaking warmly about the joy his children brought him, even when his marriages didn't work out. But even with the family bond, the marriage to Runcourt also came to an end in 1972, leaving Borgnine once again single and looking for lasting companionship. It was in his 5th marriage, however, that Borgnine finally found lasting stability and happiness. On February 24, 1973, he married Norwegian-born businesswoman Tove, who would become not only his partner in life, but also his steady supporter through the later decades of his career, who later became successful as a cosmetics entrepreneur with her Tove brand, gave Borgnine a sense of calm and balance that had often been missing in his earlier relationships. Their marriage lasted for nearly 4 decades, which was remarkable in Hollywood, and it stayed strong until Borgnine's death in 2012. Friends and colleagues often said that with Tove, Borgnine had finally found the companion who could match his energy, while also calming his explosive nature with patience and understanding. She was by his side during his later years, giving him love, stability, and companionship, and their marriage is often remembered as the true anchor of Borgnine's personal life. Throughout his long and colorful career in Hollywood, Ernest Borgnine developed a reputation not only for his versatility as an actor, but also for his honest, no-nonsense personality. He was the kind of man who would speak his mind without worrying too much about hurting other people's feelings. And this straightforwardness extended to the way he talked about some of his colleagues in the entertainment industry. Borgnine, who worked with hundreds of actors over more than 6 decades, sometimes formed deep and lasting friendships with his co-stars, but he was equally unafraid to admit when he couldn't stand someone. Over the years, in interviews and conversations, he occasionally revealed the names of actors he simply didn't get along with, and in some cases openly said that he hated working with them. One of the most notorious examples was his deep,